Hey Rashad, Pat here. I wanted to sort of take you through some of the issues that I think we're seeing here on these errors. So as you can see on, this is Modern Room Deco, there are 68 errors in the console. And there's one issue for all 68, and it's growing a little bit as the days go on, which tells me that it isn't endemic to the code, because if it was in the code, there would basically be, you know, the same number of errors being found every day, but it's growing. And so I'm not quite sure why that is, but let's take a look at that. So the error is submitted URL has a crawl issue. So if we look at that particular error, let's take one of these pages. So one of the pages, for example, is products Heron dining room chair white. So the first thing I'm going to do is just look at that page. And the page itself looks like it's rendering just fine. So it's not a case of this product no longer exists. It's more a case of something is preventing Google from fully crawling this, and therefore it's giving it an error. So if we go into this inspector, first thing we're going to do is inspect the URL. And this is the report. It's telling us that there's a crawl anomaly. So something is going on. So it's allowed to be crawled. It's not being prevented by the robots text, but it's not being crawled properly. It's failing. There's a crawl anomaly. What does that mean? So a crawl anomaly is an unspecified error, which could mean a 400 or 500 level response code, which a 400 is probably a 404, which is a page not found. 500 level is probably a 500, which means that's an internal server error, which means maybe the Shopify was down for a few seconds when it was being crawled. But unfortunately, it's unspecified, so we got to do a little more dig. So the next thing I'm going to do is test that file to make sure it's not being blocked by the robots text file, which it isn't, because there's and basically the robots text, this is automatically done by Google. Google's not going to, or excuse me, Shopify. Shopify's not going to allow indexing of the admin, of the cart, of the orders pages, etc., because those aren't necessary. There's nothing else here that tells me that there's anything unusual being prevented by the robots text file. There's no products, for example, that are being prevented. So this file is automatically generated by Shopify. There's nothing we can do to change it. So next thing we're going to do is fetch that page as Google and see what Google is seeing when it gets there. So you can see there's a partial indexing. So Google's finding it, but it's missing some things relative to that page when it tries to index the entire thing. This is what it's seeing. So you can see that it's finding the page, but if we come down here to the specific files, these are the things that didn't index properly. The robots text is blocking several of these things, and then there are several that are not found. For example, there's an Ajax script that's part of Zopim. There's several temporarily unreachable pieces that are part of Zopim, which I think that may be your chat software. So when we've got something like this installed, Zopim, as an app, if for some reason their website is inaccessible because they've got certain assets that are no longer being reached, that may be one of the reasons why you're getting an error. And then the last thing is an error on a JSON file. And I need to find out what that is. That JSON file is coming up as missing. It should be it should be there. I'm not sure why it's not being found, because if we click it, I think we're just going to get access denied. So I'm not sure what that file does, but I think the big issue here is this Zopim script, because I think what's happening is if they go down or they have some sort of an issue with their server, and then Google comes by your page and tries to find it, and doesn't find certain pieces of it, then that may be why you've got that error. So the last thing we want to do then is view this as a search result to see what actually shows up. So you can see here that it's being found, and that's the key. So if we view it as a search result, it's there. Google has it. There's just certain parts of it that are not there, and it's that crawl anomaly that's throwing those errors. So generally speaking, other than that client JSON file, I don't think there's much you need to do, but I think we need to just kind of keep an eye on these things. So I would say we keep an eye on these reports and go back and revisit them from time to time and go through this process to make sure that those products are actually being found, and that there's not some anomaly of an issue with regard to it being an old product that's no longer there, with no redirect and that sort of thing. But I think in general you can ignore it because you've got 68. But again, I think most of those are false positives because they're all products, and I think they're all being rendered that way because of the issue with that Zopim software. So I would say it's not hurting your SEO. I would say just leave it for now, and we'll just kind of keep an eye on it.